So I think the best place to start with my testimony would be in November 2019. And I wasn't really attending Generation for the most proper or pure reasons. Really, I was being selfish. I had started attending Generation out of compromise. My wife is a Christian. She had made it very clear that that was a non-negotiable for her, and I did not want her to leave my life. She was the most amazing woman I'd ever met. Now, I wasn't looking to experience and know Jesus Christ, but what I was looking for was purpose and meaning in my life. Because the reality is while I did believe that there was a God, I refused to acknowledge that the Bible was the Word of God, and I refused to believe that Jesus Christ is who He says He is. In November 2019, Pastor Roger gave a fantastic message on fasting. So I started that fast, and simultaneous to that, I proposed to Deborah. And I started reading the Bible, but I thought that if I could just read it enough, I'd start poking holes in it. It would become very clear to me that I would have the arguments that I needed to prove that, yeah, it's a system that works, but it's not the only path, and it's has its flaws. That's what I truly believed. Fast forward to the end of this fast, and we're in worship. Now then the fire is on. And this was a song that always impacted me, and I always fought it off. I never wanted to sing the name Jesus. But on that service in February of 2020, I made a partial surrender, and something happened. I felt light, I felt peace, and quite frankly, I was scared. To acknowledge that something had happened by saying Jesus' name, by surrendering in worship, had impacted me and all the way down into my being, would mean to acknowledge that my entire worldview was wrong, that my entire way of thinking was backwards, that all of the cynical views that I had held about Christianity may actually be wrong. So in August of 2022, Deborah and I went to a conference together that I didn't want to go to. It was way too Holy Spirit filled. It was way out of my comfort zone. And to make it in my mind worse, it was like 5 days long. But by Saturday, I was worn out, and I kept doing these partial surrenders. And the end of the conference, in the middle of worship, everything goes silent. At that conference in 2022, How Great Thou Art broke the silence just by a violin. And I knew that God was speaking to me directly through this conference that I didn't want to be in, with denominations I didn't particularly think were 100% right. And I finally surrendered. And the most amazing and wonderful peace flowed over me. I felt so light. Something truly supernatural occurred. I changed. I became a new creation. I went through this spree of just getting rid of anything that the Spirit convicted me of that was not of God, that God didn't want in my life anymore. And I began to find joy and peace and purpose that I never had. And I'll never go back. I only want more of that. My name is Pablo, and I'm a member of Generation Church.